Guru Paramadaivatam Guru Parakaram Nasti Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravyam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva.
ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयामदेवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेमदेवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 Mundakopanishad. And let us see where we are. We're in the middle of mantra number 6. And what does it say here? Yattat adreshyam agrahyam agotram avarnam achakshushrodram tat apanipadam nityam vibhum sarvagatam susukshmam tad avyayam yad bhutayonim paripashyanti dhiraha. So we have come up to sarvagatam. Maybe even susukshmam we studied a little bit, but we have left the best for the last, the word vibhu. We have to see the word vibhu here, very special word, and complete this mantra. So we saw how the translation is given here, that which cannot be seen, that which is not objectifiable in any way, cannot be seen, cannot be grasped with the hands, cannot be seen, jnanendriya, cannot be touched or grasped, karmendriya, and that which is which has no origins, no gotra, and then which has no gunas by which you can, avarnam means no gunas. You cannot even describe it. Varna, to describe. You can't even describe it because it has absolutely no attributes, attribute free. And not only can it not be grasped, what is the it? This aksharam brahma, this indeclinable brahman, this truth of oneself, that the paravidya that needs to be known, which Shaunaka, the student, is being instructed by Guru Angiras. So it cannot be touched, it cannot be seen, it cannot be perceived, it cannot be made into an object. And at the same time, it itself has no eyes, no ears, no hands, no feet, and which is always unchanging, nityam, and which is ever all pervading, all pervasive, ever present everywhere. Sarvagatam. Susukshmam means the which is very subtle. Like even the water vapor. You cannot see water vapor, but it is there. Somehow you need a subtle instrument like a barometer to appreciate the humidity in the air. So like that, it's even subtler than that, because it is the cause of even the humidity. It is the cause of even space, which is subtler than water vapor. And because the water vapor hangs around in space, but space doesn't hang around anywhere except in Brahman, so to speak. And again, the words in have to be in inverted commas because there is the space. Brahman is not a holder of the Jagat. Means Brahman is not a receptacle in which the Jagat is ashrita. Then we'll have another problem later on, because then we'll have two things, and then that is the and then out of that we have to bring out one thing, and so it will create some problems, because there will be a loss of what is called Advaita. Advaita Hani will take place. And so there will be no Advaita, there will only be Dvaita. So then what do we have to say? It is subtler than space. Everything is as though in space. And Brahman is the cause of even space. And that is what is, pointed out here. Brahman is the cause of even space. And then it is avyayam, na vyeti. Vyaya means to decline, to be spent. And we know the word vyaya very well, because that's what happens, after one gets the salary. So the salary is deposited in the bank account. Nobody sees the salary anymore. You know, it is deposited, and you have to have shraddha that it is there, because when you check the balance, it is increased. And then then upachaya or vyaya takes place. Then you have to pay all the bills, starting with mortgage, rent, etc., electricity, gas, all these things have to be paid. Then, car payment, this payment, all these things. And then you keep paying. And then after the first week itself, when you check the bank balance, there is vyaya, meaning it has become half of itself. And then you wonder what is going to happen. And of course, Bhagavan takes care and nothing happens, but this is what is called vyaya, vyeti. And it keeps on, decreasing. And this vyaya takes place even with regard to the body. With regard to the body, one, it's very subtle, but one has less and less energy. Vyaya takes place, less and less energy. And what one could do in the 30s, one cannot do in the 40s. What one could do in the 40s, one cannot do in the 50s. Even though you tell yourself, oh, what is that? What is that famous expression? 50 is the new 40. Yes, you can believe whatever you want. 50 is not the new 40. Okay, that is in your head. And how do you know? Because previously you were like a spring chicken. You could sit on the floor and get up very easily. Now you look for a prop to hang on to before you get up. You can still sit on the floor. Then you need something to stand up. Then in the 60s, it's a little harder. And then, in fact, if one is in the West, one stops sitting on the floor entirely. Bad idea, because they have done, I don't know, how much spare time and, NIH grants people have, because they've done a study. And what is that study? They've done a study which says that the longevity of the human being is contingent upon how long in their life they can continue to sit down on the floor and get up even with the help of support, doesn't matter. But there is something about bending and sitting down that keeps the body agile and keeps the mind also agile. And because sitting, from a standing position to get to a sitting on the floor position, a lot of things are involved. balance is involved, the ability to, the ability to gauge how to gracefully come down from the standing position is involved. And then the reverse motion. So there is balance, there is strength, all these things. But Vyaya takes place. There comes a day, even if you've been practicing sitting on the floor, there comes a day where suddenly you cannot get up. You need two fellows to come and help you up. And this is all called Vyaya. Apachaya, another Sanskrit word. Apachaya. And apachaya means there's a kind of the weakening, a spending of the force. In Chinese medicine, it is called chi, that life force with which one was born, and that keeps on getting expended. And this is the law of nature, because this is part of the sixfold modifications to which the human body is subject. And what is that sixfold modification? We know this very well. Birth and death, those are the two ends of what all happens in the middle of this sandwich bread called birth and death. So in the middle of birth and death, there is there is asti jayate, birth, mriyate, vinashyati, death. And in between there is asti, survives birth. And then what happens after the being survives birth? After the being survives birth, vardhate, grows up, viparinamate, blossoms, flowers. And then after that comes what we are talking about, vyaya, apakshiyate, all kinds of things. When you move any body part, there is this click click sound. All bones make this click click sound everywhere. You open your mouth, there is a click, and then you bend your fingers, there is a click. You bend your knees, definitely there is a click. So all these clickety click sounds, which shows that there is, that the spaces between the joints are loosening, and everything is loosening. The memory, of course, is loosening. Why did I come into this room? Is a frequent question that is asked. And then you think, if you go back to the other room, then you will remember. When you go to the other room, that's just in the books. You don't really remember. So there is vyaya taking place. Then finally, vinashyati. This sixfold modification, everything in the universe undergoes. And we say, not just sentient beings, even insentient beings, even insentient things, like your favorite coffee cup, tea mug, coffee mug. And then what? Then in the beginning, it is shiny. When you purchase it from the store or somebody gifts you, it is very shiny and it is wonderful. And then after a while, it gets dulled. And then then it reaches a stage where you cannot get the stains out. Tea stains, coffee stains are part of the mug now. And then one day it just collapses. And that is exactly how it just self-destructs, even if you don't, then it develops a few chips because you have ill-treated it. Now it has a chip on its shoulder, and then before long, vinashyati. Everything in the universe is subject to these sixfold modifications. Although in the living beings we can see this much more clearly, because in the insentient things, this vardhate will not be there. Grows up vardhate and viparinamate, these two modifications you will not see. But then the rest of it are there. And then vinashyati, all things are finite and subject to destruction, starting with one's own body-mind complex. And then what? Then we have this problem. What is this problem? We're looking for Brahman among these things. Where is Brahman? Maybe the shiniest thing is Brahman. No. Maybe the most long-lived is Brahman. No. Like a grandfather, Pitamaha. No. Then what is Brahman? Tat avyayam. That which is entirely free of these sixfold modifications and has and has no change whatsoever, no beginning, no end, and therefore no change. You see, that's why the birth and the death are most important in the discussion of these shad vikaraha, these sixfold modifications. And you know why birth and death are important? Because if it is not born and if it does not die, then the other four modifications, we can easily refute for this particular thing. And so this is basically how it is. And so therefore the birth and death are very important, because that which is subject to birth is also subject to death. So if there is no birth, then there is no death. Except, of course, when we are talking about Atma Ajnanam, that doesn't have a birthday, but it definitely has a funeral planned. Okay? Yes, maybe even at the end of this class. So then, so therefore, this is very much an exception. But the rest of the things in the in the discussion of anything, the rest of the things in the universe, that which is subject to birth is also subject to death. As we are studying in the Bhagavad Gita, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. And this fact, Lord Krishna says, is apariharya. That is law of life. It cannot be changed. It is anivarya. It cannot be removed. This is how it is. And so therefore what? So therefore this Brahman is an exception to this, because it does not come under the spell of these sixfold modification. No birth, no death. If there is no birth, how will it survive birth? And then how will it grow up without being born? And then how will it blossom again without being born? And then how will it have vyaya? How will it become weak and infirm and feeble without being born? How will it get sick without being born? So maybe if it is not born, maybe it is not there at all. No, 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 it is very much there. Why? This word bhutayonim, bhutayonihi and vibhu, they go together. So that's why we are going to be looking at these two together. Bhutayoni, bhutanam yonihi, bhutayonihi. Yoni means birth canal, cause. Bhutayoni, bhuta means all the elements. And from the elements, all the things that have been caused by the elements, starting with this, the things in the universe, and also this human body, they are all called bhautika. So the first word is bhuta, elements. Then we have bhautika, elementals, things, bhutebhyah jatam bhautikam. So that which is born of the elements is called elementals. And so this elemental is very important, because it is not only the cause of the five elements, but everything that has come from the five elements is also non-separate from from this Brahman, which is the cause of them all. Bhuta yonihi. And then yoni means cause. And then vibhum. Vibhuhu means there is, what is that? Vibhuhu, very wonderful word. Vividham bhavati iti vibhuhu. Vividham bhavati. Vividham bhavati means it manifests variously. It manifests in all different ways and in all different manner of ways. It manifests in so many different ways. Of course, without undergoing any change whatsoever. That manifestation is. It manifests in so many different ways. Like how gold and ornaments. In order to quote unquote become the ornament, the gold did not undergo any change. But the gold, is very much the ornament is non-separate from gold. The weight of the ornament is the weight of gold. The shine of the ornament is the shine belonging to gold. In fact, there is no ornament without gold. This is what is meant by the word vibhu. It is everywhere. And also, this is what is meant by the word bhuta yoni. That it is the cause of everything, like the gold is the cause of the ornament world. Without undergoing any change, it manifests as the ornament world, presides over the ornament world, and is non-separate from the ornament world. So too, this Brahman is the cause of everything, including the five elements. And then what? And then it is also manifest as the five elements. This is Vibhu. Vibhu means Vividam Bhavati. It is manifest as everything. Like even the gold is manifest as everything. So here also it is manifest as everything. And then it is manifest as the cause of the universe. And in the Brahma Sutra, the word yoni also comes. The third Brahma Sutra is called Shastra Yonitvat. A very important sutra. You know why? Because it talks about how the how this Brahman is connected to the Shastra, to the Upanishads, etc. So, Shastram Yonihi Yasya. That's why the word Shastra Yonitvat, this particular sutra, is repeated 2 times. Shastra Yonitvat, Shastra Yonitvat. And why is it repeated 2 times? The first time, Shastram Yonihi Yasya. So the Shastra is the way to understand this Brahman, this Bhagavan. To understand this Bhagavan, we need Shastra because it is not subject to quote unquote scientific proof. It is not subject to any kind of a what should I say, inference, etc., or any other means of knowledge. It is not subject to at all. And so Shastra Yonitvat means you need, Shastram Yonihi Yasya. One derivation. Meaning the Shastra is the cause for knowing and understanding which Brahman as oneself. But then the next derivation, puts this doubt, like, oh, so Brahman is dependent on Shastra completely to rest. Shastrasyapi yonihi. Yeah, that which is the cause of the Shastra also, because where did the Vedas come from? Bhagavan. Bhagavan did not come out of the Veda except in the sense of, in the sense of helping us understand. But that very Shastra is given by who? Bhagavan. Is caused by who? Bhagavan. So this is what is meant by Bhuta Yonihi, the cause of everything that is. All the subtle things, all the gross things, everything in between, every single thing. That is why for us, Bhagavan is not one particular entity sitting somewhere in a place called heaven, etc. Everything, the sky that we look at, Bhagavan. The sun that lights up the universe, manifestation of Bhagavan. Sun that lights up the universe, manifestation of Bhagavan. The sky, Bhagavan. The rain is Bhagavan. Sea is Bhagavan. Any body of water is Bhagavan, from rivers, ponds, lakes, and even a little rain puddle, Bhagavan. And then, the tree is Bhagavan. Trees are Bhagavan. That's why in India we have certain, we perform marriage ceremony of trees. Sometimes the trees grow together and we perform the marriage ceremony of trees. Trees are Bhagavan. They sustain us. And this is what is Vibhu, Vividham Bhavati. That Bhagavan has, as though, quote unquote, become many without undergoing any change, just like the gold and the ornament. So all Bhagavan. So for us, the air we breathe is Bhagavan. That's why we say Namaste Vayo, Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi. You are Brahman that is manifest. You are the Brahman that I recognize so intimately each time I inhale Bhagavan. Once I inhale this Vayu, it has, for me, it has now become prana. That prana is also Bhagavan. So it is just a very sophisticated understanding of Bhagavan. And this sophisticated understanding of Bhagavan here is conveyed by the word Vibhu and Bhutayonihi. Vibhu, very beautiful word. And that's why, we have in the 108 names the word Vibhave Namaha, Prabhave Namaha. Prabhu Prakarshena Bhavati. Iti Prabhu and Vibhu Vividham Bhavati. Same thing. Prakarshena Bhavati means that which is without cause. It is the cause of everything, but it has no antecedents, it has no gotra that was talked about earlier. This Bhagavan has no gotra, and so this Bhagavan is without cause, a causeless cause. And then that is Prabhu. And Vibhu means that which is immanent in the form of all things in the universe, whose presence and whose sentience, whose knowledge shines as each and every manifestation in the universe. We sense Bhagavan in the seasons, we say, because it's just an infallible and a very tightly knit order, which has many kinds of orders within it. It has, what can we say? It has the physiological order, the anatomical order. Wherever there are eyes, they see. Wherever there are legs, they run. It is a part of this law, which is Bhagavan. And the law is a manifestation of Bhagavan. It's not a mandate of Bhagavan. And the law of your own mind, how the mind functions, how how you can make someone angry in 5 minutes, regardless of who they are. Unless they are Dalai Lama or some other saint, some other person who has studied and worked on themselves. So you can make them angry. And Pujya Swamiji used to tell one such story. And one man came to him and said, Swamiji, I have conquered my anger. Swamiji said, nonsense. No, Swamiji, really. Now nothing makes me angry. You are a liar, Swamiji said. You have not conquered your anger at all. And the man got angry. What do you mean? How dare you call me a liar, Swamiji? You don't even know me. So this shows. And Swamiji laughed and said, this is exactly what I wanted to teach you. This is why I said this. So that you let go of that which you think has conquered the anger. So like this, this is also the law of the mind. That law which governs anger, that law which governs sorrow, that law which governs abuse, neglect, and how the person behaves because of these kinds of situations. All this is just so beautifully knit. And this law is Bhagavan. All these laws are non-separate from Bhagavan. They are the manifestation of Bhagavan. Therefore, it is Vibhu. Oh, but I want to see this Bhagavan now. You have made this Bhagavan so attractive. Oh, Mundakopanishad, how do I see this Bhagavan? One has to become Dhira. Paripashyanti Dhiraha. Dhira, who is this Dhira? Dhihi Rati Dadati iti Dhiraha. Dhi means Buddhi. So when one has enough Buddhi to share, that is called Dhira. Usually what happens? There is not even enough Buddhi for myself. In fact, I have to borrow Buddhi from someone else in terms of memory, in terms of priorities, which are never straight, in terms of proper thinking, in terms of proper decisions, in terms of proper actions. The buddhi has gone to graze in the vast field of the sense objects. Along with the sense organs, the buddhi is held, the buddhi and the manaha are held hostage by the sense organs, which are happily grazing in the land of sense objects. This is what has happened to the buddhi. In fact, I have to borrow the buddhi from the guru, and I have to borrow the buddhi from elders in order to come back. But here, Dhira is the opposite, the one who is able to lend his or her thinking to others. This is the Dhira. Very, very nice. Very beautiful, in fact. Dhira means the one of sound mind, sound thinking. And that dhira alone, paripashyanti, those dhiraha, such people paripashyanti. Pashyanti, see. Paritaha pashyanti, see everywhere. See everything as Bhagavan. They have been able to very easily Ishwarize the universe. Ishwarize, is that a word? Of course it is. Look it up. If you come and tell me it is not there, it will become a word later on. Ishwarize. And you have to Ishwarize the whole universe. And the whole universe is nothing but Ishvara, the one who knows, is the Dhira and who sees Bhagavan everywhere. Paripashyanti Dhiraha. A very radically different definition of Bhagavan than what one is accustomed to. And very, very beautiful. And here, this Bhagavan is what is to be known, and this Bhagavan is Akshara, that which you need to understand as the truth of yourself, as non-separate from yourself, is what Shaunaka is taught. Now, how this Bhagavan, manifests, and what are all these, how to recognize this Bhagavan through certain unique examples is given in the mantra number 7. Let us read that. यथोर्णनाभिसृजते गृह्णते च यथा पृथिव्याम् ओषधयः सम्भवन्ति यथोर्णनाभिसृजते गृह्णते च यथा पृथिव्याम् ओषधयः सम्भवन्ति यथा सतः पुरुषात् केशलोमानि तथाक्षरात् सम्भवति इह विश्वम् यथा सतः पुरुषात् केशलोमानि तथाक्षरात् सम्भवति इह विश्वम्. Yatha, just as. Urna nabhihi. Urna means wool. Nabhihi means navel. So, the name for spider in Sanskrit is woolly naveled one. From the navel, now this is not the time to ask the question, do spiders have a navel? Okay, this is all this is all metaphorical. Okay, we have to get over the being literal here. So the woolly naveled one means who produces wool through the navel, or some kind of, it's not separate from itself. That is the idea. Yatha urna nabhihi, just as the woolly naveled one, namely spider, srijate, creates. Creates means what? Out of itself, it creates that silk, spider silk, or spider, the material, the spider thread, the material for the web. And then the material for the web it creates. And then what? Then it is, this is srijate, it creates. And that's why when you look up, you see something coming down from the ceiling. Slowly it is coming down, coming down, coming down. Then you try to touch it. Then what does it do? It withdraws that thread, and with the help of that thread goes up again. You don't see the thread anywhere because it has used it as a nice little bungee cord. This is how, looking at the spider, one got the idea of this sport called bungee cord jumping. This is what it is. Looking at the spider, alone they thought of the sport. And anybody who is very much interested in this sport must have been a spider in the last life. Those samskaras are there, wanting them to experience this, this kind of a yo-yo motion, which is the spider. But supposing somebody comes and tells me, I know my past life, I have never been a spider. What will I say then? Then I will say, okay, maybe I'm mistaken. You were never a spider, but if you keep bungee cord jumping, you will be getting ready to become a spider in the next life. You see, karma is so wonderful. You can put anything onto it. Karma is like a donkey. It will take any amount of weight. So, what does the spider has this unique way of producing that material and then swallowing up that material. This much is the example. This is the example. It's not that Bhagavan is spider. No, spider is definitely Bhagavan. Bhagavan is not being described as a spider. This is what is called Drishtanta, example. So, Srijate creates, Grinhate absorbs. And then this is the first example. We'll see the uniqueness of each example. And then the next example is separated by the word cha, and just as yatha prithivyam, from the earth, from Mother Earth, oshadhayaha. Oshadhayaha means all kinds of plants. Oshadhi, all kinds of plants. Sambhavanti, are born, are produced. So, just as the spider produces and withdraws the thread, and just as the earth gives rise to various kinds of plants. We'll just see the meaning first, the translation, and then we'll look at it in detail. Yatha satah purushat. Satah means an alive purusha, person. So, a living being. Purusha here is person, human being, but actually this applies to all living beings. Okay, it applies to most living beings. And yatha sataf purusha, just as from the living person, what kesha lomani, and we have to bring in this sambhavanti here because this is poetry and it's not going to be repeated in the same way all the time. Sambhavanti has to be borrowed here as well. Sambhavanti is nicely produced. So out of the living being is nicely produced what? Kesha. Kesha means what? Hair. Lomani. Loma is also hair. What's the difference? Loma is body hair. Kesha is hair on the head. You know, Kesha is hair on the head. Loma is body hair. Tatha, in that same manner, aksharat. So there is a avagraha there. That this shows that there is an elision of the because there is a sandhi. So tatha aksharat. Aksharat means out of that unchanging, indeclinable one. So out of this Bhagavan, sambhavati. This sambhavati iha. Iha means here. Sambhavati is born. What? Vishwam, this entire universe. So just look carefully. There are three examples. The first example is up till here. Yatha urnanabhihi srijate grinhate cha. Just as the spider produces and withdraws its thread. Just as the earth, yatha prithivyam oshadhayas sambhavanti, just as the out of the earth come variegated flora of all kinds of trees and plants. And again, just as out of a living being we have hair, and to this we can add nails also, hair, nails, etc. And in the same manner, from this Bhagavan called Akshara here, Paravidya is being taught. So this is Akshara, and out of this Bhagavan, this whole universe has come. Okay, so this is the mantra. So then the question comes: why do we need three examples? One was enough, and we already had the example earlier that bhuta yonihi. We didn't have an example, but it was said it is the bhutanam yonihi. It is the cause of everything. We already heard that. So why do we need all these examples? What for? The answer is very, very clear to eliminate all kinds of confusion. To eliminate the confusion that is there, this is needed, because this is to make it easier to grasp, to understand. So the first one example shows something, that the material, material, that is the creation. The material used for projecting, manifesting, creating this whole universe is non-separate from the maker. This in the technical term for this is abhinna nimitta upadana karana. Two kinds of cause are there. When you look at something, when you look at a clay pot, when you look at a golden chain ornament. So when you look at the ornament, when you look at the pot, there are two things, two kinds of causes. One technically is called nimitta karana. Nimitta karana means there is, a pot is intelligently crafted, and so there is an intelligence, pervading the pot, because it's the right size, and it has the shape. The shape is also intelligent. It holds water, and then it's easy to pour without staining everything else, without falling all over and creating a mess. It has a lip. The pot has a lip. So in these senses, it is intelligent. It is extremely intelligent, intelligently put together. And so that intelligence it belongs to the potter. The artistry and the intelligence in the creation of pot belongs to the potter. And then if we are talking of an ornament, that intelligence of that wonderful ornament which has beaten gold, which shines very nicely, belongs to the goldsmith. And then if we are talking of a piece of furniture, that intelligence, very nicely crafted furniture, that intelligence belongs to the carpenter. Now this is what is called, this is how it is. And then the material, of course, the earth, the gold, and then the wood are all different. That is called the material cause. Because it's not just enough to have the intelligent cause. You can sit somewhere in your room and have some kind of a Victorian chair, where in your head you can have a Victorian chair. What good does that do? You can't sit on it. It's an air chair. In fact, you can take away the CH. It's just air. It's not chair at all. And so therefore what? So therefore you need the material to make the chair. And nowadays, unfortunately, we have plastic chairs. In India, they abound. There is steel chairs, there is plastic chairs, very sadly. So so you need some material. Wood. Wood is a nice example because it's at least what should I say? It is at least biodegradable. So wood is the material for the chair. So the material for the chair is wood. And in fact, our thinking is all wrong. Wood is the substantive, and the chair is an incidental manifestation, really speaking. So instead of saying it, calling it wooden chair, we have to say it is cherry wood. Yes, it is because the wood is substantive and the chair is an incidental manifestation of that wood. But the language, sadly, is in keeping with our ajnanam, atma ajnanam. And so therefore we have atma, atmano, atmanaha. How many atmas are there? One. But the word atma declines even though atmana is avyaya. The word atma is one, two, more than two in as far as grammar goes. So this is how it is in the universe. There is bhinnata, a separation between the what we call the intelligence or the intelligent cause, nimitta karana, and the upadana karana, the material. That's why sometimes, especially in capitalist societies, you don't even know who made something. At least in the past, you could, that there were certain famous furniture makers. You could go to them to commission your chair and say, this is exactly how I want it. But now you just go to the store and buy it, and the store itself is part of a terrible chain, and then you don't even know who made it, and there's not one person who makes it, because for one sad individual, the whole life they will be just making legs, the legs of the chair. They will be, and the making means what? Feeding it to a machine which will just rotate and take out certain craft certain shape. Very little is done by hand. So it's all assembly line. So one person is in charge of the legs, another person is in charge of the back, another person is in charge of the seat, and another set of people oversee the production of the handles, and then yet some other people are in charge of upholstery, putting spring and foam, etc. And then someone else finally gives it a coat of varnish, and so that you can then use it. This is how it is. It's all, one is alienated from the productive production process. This is all very, very interesting. From the means of production, one is alienated from the nimitta karana and the upadana karana in the current world. But really speaking, these two things, if we look at traditional example, gold and ornament, wood and furniture, and then clay and pot. When we look at the traditional examples, the nimitta karana shines, it becomes very clear that it is intelligently put together, and that intelligence in the form of the potter, the carpenter, and the goldsmith are very, very clear, and they are different from the material. They're very different from the material. The material is, the wood has nothing to do with the carpenter. Because how do you know? Because when you buy the chair, you don't, the carpenter doesn't come home along with their family and friends. The carpenter is not at home, and is not in your house sitting on the chair or hanging around. But in the case of the universe, there is a non separation between what is called nimitta karana and then upadana karana. The material cause and the intelligence are centered in one being, rest in one conscious being, Bhagavan. See, you can borrow something. You can go borrow a cup of sugar in order to make a cake. You can go to the neighbor and say, please give me a cup of sugar. Where will Bhagavan go? Yeah. Where will Bhagavan go to make the Jagat? Oh, to another planet. Another planet is also Bhagavan. To another galaxy. Another galaxy is also Bhagavan. Besides, we are talking of Bhagavan before Srishtehe Prak, before the universe came into being. Oh, so galaxies are not there? No. Even space is not there. Even time is not there. Only this intelligence, this nimitta, which is Bhagavan, is there. So you can go borrow, buy, from so many sources. That's why it is not the source, it is a resource. For us, whatever we have, whatever we have available to us is a resource. But what about the source? That source cannot afford to borrow anything because there is no other thing than itself. So, like the spider, it is self-sufficient, and then, like the spider, produces the wool from its navel, and in order to avoid predators, one, and also in order to trap the predators. To trap the predators and to avoid the predators, the wool is produced, and then and when it makes a beautiful web, a hapless little fly, a curious, and a fly whose karma is up, whose prarabdha is up, says, oh, this looks like a nice little place, let me go and sit there for some time. And then the legs of the fly get entangled in the web, and then what? The spider is there. Where is the spider? It is there. It is there in the center of the web, just biding its time. And then it just eats up the web. The web leads it to the fly, and then the fly is no longer able to fly, and the fly is now bye bye, gone. And so this web is very useful to trap the predators, is very useful to avoid predators, because quickly it can just run away from any source of, something wanting to, from all the birds of prey, animals of prey. It can run away from predators. It can make its food come to it. It can just sit in one place and the food comes to it, and it can do all kinds of things. And so therefore it is here we see that the only one thing that is of importance is to see that the abhinna nimitta upadana karanatvam for the spider, that the maker is the spider, the material is also the spider. In the same way, whatever has presence in this world is Bhagavan. When you say flower is Bhagavan. Is means present. And that presence is only Bhagavan's presence, because no other presence is possible. We already saw that. Before the universe came into being, there is no presence there other than Bhagavan. And after the universe has come into being, there is no presence here other than Bhagavan. It is Bhagavan in the form of the tree. It is Bhagavan in the form of me. That is what it is. That's what one has to see. It is everything is just Bhagavan. Bhagavan with name and form. With a particular name called tree, with a particular form called tree, with branches, etc. This is what the whole thing, is, it has to be understood from this standpoint. So Bhagavan is the tree, and the tree non-separate from Bhagavan. Anything that is there, the presence of anything does not belong to itself. It belongs to Bhagavan. Belongs to what? It is the manifestation of Bhagavan. So when something is destroyed, there is no, Bhagavan is not destroyed. And when you say something is destroyed, that thing is also not destroyed. The form is destroyed, the name is destroyed. And that thing, that vastu, is just ready to manifest itself, or has already manifested itself in another form. Like the aforementioned coffee cup. And then one day what? Oops. Oops means I made it fall. I broke it. It fell from my hand from a height. And then what happened? It broke into several pieces. It broke into many, 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 many small pieces. And then what? Oh, the mug is destroyed. One cries. My favorite coffee tea mug is destroyed. Is it destroyed? No. Mug is not. See how funny our language is. Even if when you want to say mug is not, you are constrained to use the word is. Mug is absent. Is. Absence is. Absence of the mug is. And then what else can you say about the mug? Mug is in 1,000 pieces. Pieces is. Now the mug is changed its name into pieces. Mug pieces, but again the mug inheres, because previously it was mug. That is its gotra. So that mug pieces, it's not the pieces of paper, but it is pieces of this mug. The mug piece is. Then let's say you make it into powder. Mug powder is. And then it goes back to the earth. Clay is. Another mug is. Not possible to destroy. Why? Avyaya. This is what it is. Avyaya. The presence of Bhagavan is avyaya, not possible to destroy. So even as we lament the ending of things and of the life cycle of people, and even as one is afraid of one's own life cycle coming to a close, it is just the name and form. The name called such and such a person, gone. The form called such and such a person, gone. But that which animated the name and form, which gave life to this person, which made them talk, speak, run, hide, achieve certain things in life, all that is Bhagavan. That animating capacity is Bhagavan. So you see, from the presence that is Bhagavan, we are going into the next thing which is here. That presence is non-separate from the animating capacity, the sentience. And when we say sentience, it is just knowledge. It is all knowledge that is resting in a conscious being, Bhagavan. Mug is knowledge. It is intelligently put together. It is in fact nothing but presence and knowledge. Mug is, and then this mug and whatever you say about the mug is knowledge. It's gray in color, knowledge. It's yellow in color, knowledge. Oh, it has a handle, knowledge. It is useful, knowledge. It can hold 8 ounces, 10 ounces, if you say, knowledge. And so this is something which is all knowledge. So, which came first, the presence or the knowledge? Knowledge is present and the presence is all knowledge. The two are inextricably linked. And so, when you say flower is, flower knowledge is, it's the same thing. Flower, because anything that you say about the flower, that it is having so many petals, that it looks like this, that it has all these characteristics, it's all knowledge. And that knowledge has to rest in a conscious being who is present. This is what it is. Sat and Chit. This Bhagavan, Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam, Sat and Chit. The whole, very, very beautiful. And then, this is Vibhu. Vibhu means Vividham Bhavati, is manifest in different ways. How many different ways? Many, many, many different ways. Okay, so how many life forms are we talking about? Infinite forms. Not just life forms, infinite forms. Infinite names. That is Bhagavan. So infinite names and forms means, when will Bhagavan exhaust himself, and run out of things to create? Never is the answer. This is what is called Ananta. That which never comes to an end. This is all the part of the definition of Avyaya that we saw in verse number 6. Avyaya. Avyaya and Ananta, it is always there, manifest in many forms. There is a story of a kind of a whimsical king in ancient India. And this is the story of how idlis, idli, some kind of a, what is that, like a steamed ball of dough. No, it's like a little, I don't know what to call it, but it's like a little ball of dough which is there and it is steamed. And how did this idli come into being? And so the story is told that there was a king who was very persnickety about his food. He hated everything that was given to him. And then he made a rule that I will not eat the same thing twice. So imagine how versatile the cooks had to be to feed him. 3 meals a day, not counting snacks. And then 3 meals a day. So they had to come up with 3 different things. Oh, that's easy. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. No, but it can never, ever be repeated. So the cooks would just try to do so many things. And then they would inevitably get thrown into jail because they would run out of the dishes, sometimes in 4 days, sometimes in 4 months. If they were really clever, sometimes in 4 years. But they would not last. And one such hapless cook, was really wondering what to do because it was his last meal. Oh, the king's last meal? No. The cook's last supper that he had created. Because after this, he said, I have run out of everything I know how to make. I have run out of it. And then, so saying, he just wept bitter tears. Unbeknownst to him, he had put a little dough somewhere, and then, that came up as these little puffy little things, steamed things, and then a little dough had escaped and went on the steamer. And then he got an idea. He said, "Oh, maybe I live after all. Maybe I don't have to go to the jail underneath the palace. Maybe I can make these fluffy things and then present it to the king at the next meal. So one more day I can live. One more day I can spend with my children." And so saying, he concocted these fluffy things and then made it for the king and gave. And the king was so pleased. He said, "Oh my God, it is agreeing with my stomach. It is just wonderful. From now on, please make this every day." And so that is the history of idlis. Okay, little, what should I say? Indian food trivia. And so, why are we talking about idlis? We are not talking about idlis. Okay, we are talking about the cooks who ran out of things to make. That is who we are talking about. Unlike Bhagavan, who does never run out of anything ever. Sat, that which is present in all things, that which is intelligent, and that intelligence which is that knowledge which is non-separate from the presence, and that which is infinitely manifest, that is Bhagavan. We'll see the other two examples when we come back, when after 2 weeks, so the 23rd, 24th of July is the next Mundakopanishad class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Good night, good morning.